Hi, my name is Sheena Cipriana from Group 3 and I'm the secretary. So our title for today's lesson is about nature of variables. What is a variable? A variable is any characteristics, number, or quantity that can be measured or counted. A variable may also be called a data item. It has age, sex, business income, expenses, country of birth, class grades, and eye color, and those are example of variables. But in research naman, it refers to a person, place, things, or phenomenon that you are trying to measure in some way. So why are variables important in research? Basically, variables are important because they help to measure concept in a study. Because quantitative studies focus on measuring and explaining variables, and choosing the right variable is important.
Good day everyone, my name is Princess Jenna Nicole Malabago from GAS 12A, and in this video, I'm gonna discuss to you about the numeric variables, which is my topic. So numeric variables have values that describe a measurable quantity as a number, like how many or how much. Therefore, numeric variables are quantitative variables. Numeric variables may be further described as their continuous or discrete. So numeric variables have values that describe a measurable quantity as a number. So from the word numeric, so it is a number. It uses a number that answers the questions how much and how many. Therefore, the numeric variables is a quantitative variables, not qualitative. Also, there are two types of numeric variables, which is the continuous and discrete that we will be discussing later. Continuous variables. Continuous variables is an observation can take any values between a certain set of real numbers. The value given to an observation for a continuous variables can include values as shown as the instrument of a measurement allows. So the examples of continuous variables are height, time, age, and temperature. So continuous variables, from the word continuous, means padayon. So continuous variables uses a instrument to define exact measurement, to define the exact measurement. So the example include height, time, age, temperature. So nipadayon siya, padayon na siya, like the height. Atong height is mutubo na siya. So padayon the time. It never stops. So padayon siya, continuous. The age and temperature. Discrete variable. Observation can take a value based on a count from a set of distinct whole values. A discrete variable cannot take the value of a fraction between one value and the next closest value. Examples of discrete variables include the number of the business location and number of the children in a family, all of which measures as whole unit. So discrete variables can take a value based on a count from a set of distinct whole value. So take note that a discrete variables cannot take the value of a fraction between one value and the next closest value. So it cannot take fraction between one value and the next closest value. So if the continuous variables is padayon, the discrete variables is dili, but a whole unit, like the number of children in a family. It is a whole unit. So it's not continuous. It is a whole unit.
Hi everyone, my name is Aninyal Argawanon and I am the leader of this group, Group 3. For this reporting, I will discuss the categorical variables. So, what is categorical variables? A categorical variable is a variable that can take one of a limited and usually fixed number of possible values, assigning of each individual of other unit of observation to a particular group. There are four variables that are belong to A categorical variables. So, the first is ordinal variables. What is ordinal variables? Ordinal variables is a observations that can take a value that can be logically ordered or ranked. The next is the nominals. What is nominal variables? A nominal variables is a observations that can take a value that is not able to organize in logical sequence. The example of a nominal categorical variables is include sex, business type, eye color, a religion, and brand. The third is dichotomous variables. These variables represent only two categories. Some examples are male male and female, and answer yes or no, and veracity true or false. The last variable is the polycotomous variable, a variables that are many categories. Some examples are educational attainment, elementary, high school, college graduate, and postgraduate. And that would be all the categorical variables and the four variables that are belong to a categorical variable.
Hi everyone, my name is Celestino Salvalion. My position in this group is PRO.
Hi everyone, my name is Raimi Diakta and my position for this group is Assistant Secretary. And this is our topic.
It's all about what are the experimental variables. Learn about the different types of variables. In an experiment, variables are the important part of eye tracking experiment. A variable is anything that can be changed or be changed. In other words, it is any factors that can be manipulated, controlled for measure in an experiment. Experiment contains different types of variables. We will present you with some of the main types of experimental variables. There are definitions and give you example of containing a variables types.
These are the types of experimental variables. Independent variables. These are the factors or conditions that you manipulated in an experiment. Your hypothesis is that these variables causes a direct effect on these dependent variables. Let me give you this explanation for these independent variables. The independent variables is the characteristic of the psychology that is manipulated or changed by the researcher, not by other variables in the experiment. For example, in an experiment looking at these effects of studying, on test score, studying will be the independent variable.
This is a second types of experimental variables. Dependence variables. This is a factors that you can observe or measure as you vary your independence variable. You watch what happens to your independence variables. This is some explanations of dependence variable. Put another way, the dependence variables is the variables is the being measured by you and in experimenter in psychology. The dependent variable is often a score of the some types of, for example, a score are memorizations, tasks, an IQ test, or a depression scale. For example, in a study looking at how tutoring impact test scores, the dependence variables would be the participant test scores since that is what is being measured.
Hi everyone, I am back because I will discuss what is an extraneous variable. So, an extraneous variable is any variable that you are not investigating that can potentially affect the dependent variable of your research study. If left uncontrolled, extraneous variables can lead to inaccurate conclusions about the relationship between independent and dependent variables.
My name is Romel Maloloyon, the encoder of Group 3. So now let's talk about the four types of extraneous variables. First, demand characteristic. Environmental clues which tells the participant how to behave, like feature in the surrounding or researcher nonverbal behavior. Example of demand characteristic is rumors of the study. Any information, true or false, circulated about the experiment outside of the experiment itself. Number 2, experimenter or investigator effect. Experimenter or investigator effect, where the researcher intentionally affect the outcomes by giving clues to the participant how they should behave. For example, being more encouraging toward the young participant in the memory test, as this is the expected result. Number 3, participant variables like participant variables like prior knowledge, health status, or any other individual characteristics that could affect the outcomes. The differing individual characteristics that may impact how participants respond in experiments. Like for example, gender, age, intensity, socioeconomic status, literacy status, mood, or clinical diagnosis. The word participants, a person who take part in something. The last one is situational variables. Situational variables like noise, lighting, or temperature in the environment. And factors in the environment that can unintentionally affect the result of the study, like for example, it's already in the description of the situational variables. The noise, temperature, odor, and lighting. For example, let's say researchers are investigating the effect of caffeine on mood. And that's the 4 types of extraneous variables. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Bon Aldrich Bitoquero from 12 Gas A. I belong to Group 3 and my position is being the second encoder. In this video, I will explain the duality of experimental variables and non-experimental variables, not to be confused with experimental and non-experimental research. First off, obviously, is the experimental variables. The purpose for these variables to be used to observe the conclusion of the dependent variable. If that doesn't catch a glimpse, the experimental or predictable variable refers possibly to the subjects or people's information the research included. And the whole purpose is for the researcher to examine his or her theories based on his research delivered. An example is an English teacher giving out an activity for students to write an English-based essay related to inspiration. As the results are posted, the teacher will then summarize the amount of students who are fluent in English and those who don't fit the description. And next, non-experimental variables. Hence its name, it's not intended for experimental purposes, but for direct tasks. The variable may not be done on purpose, but the variable mostly refer to its outcome information. The results. In my thoughts provided, examples of where these variables include is commonly on tests, questionnaires, activities, etc. And that was all my information done in this topic of Module 3. So, thank you and God bless.